Not sure what to bring against automatons? In this video, I'll be going over how you could approach your choice of loadout. Is this the only way to Helldive? Hell no. At the very least though, it's going to check a lot of boxes for you. My name is Vasil. Let's deep dive, shall we? I'll start by saying, this is not a number crunching video. There's great YouTubers out there who do that quite well in my opinion, so thank you for dropping by if that's what you were looking for. That said, I believe application of theory is much more potent and effective, so this video is all about how to hit the ground running. To do that, we do need some criteria though, else we won't be able to mix and match our guns, grenades, and stratagems. I also believe that advice, like the one I'm about to give you, is often debated, because the most important factor is rarely considered. Namely, how good are you at using this loadout? I'll be giving an example, nuancing my comfort with that loadout. Again, make sure you adapt your loadout judgment according to your comfort. Since it's easy for me to say, for example, the autocannon is wonderful, yet if you absolutely hate its handling, that opinion will be useless to you. Your enjoyment of a weapon or stratagem will highly influence how effective you are with it, so make sure you consider it consciously. With that in mind, let's build. To create a framework for our loadout building, we need a list of boxes we can tick. The method I use mentally accounts for three things: the enemy unit, the amount of that unit, and the distance to that unit. This means each enemy type has 4 scenarios in which you can meet them: alone or in a pack, and close or far away. I consider close anything less than 30 meters from me, far anything further than 30 meters from me. Now, considering there are 8 different types of enemy units to deal with, that gives us 34 boxes to tick when including fabricators. Fabricators only get 2 boxes, defined by how close or far away they are, since the amount doesn't really matter that much. Now, 34 boxes to tick is ridiculous, but it gets much easier to oversee as you gain field experience. So be sure to use the frame as just that, a frame, or a tool, rather, which lets you determine how good a certain gun, grenade, or stratagem is, relative to your skill. As mentioned, there are 8 enemy units we have to deal with, 9 if you include fabricators. So let's get into the nitty-gritty. Number 1. Light infantry. Weak spots? The head, or anywhere but the chest really. Whether they have a sword, a gun, or both is irrelevant. Number 2. Scout striders, or walkers as I like to call them. Weak spots? Sides or the back. They're light infantry with a vehicle basically. Preferably shoot the bot, not the vehicle. Number 3. The get-in-your-face bullet sponge with the chainsaw guy. Berserkers. Weak spots? Head and abdomen. Scary up close, but that's about it. Number 4. Devastators. Medium armor body type. Just as weak as light to headshots though. If left unattended, these baddies will let you know they're here. Number 5. Hulks. Big boys with heavy armor. Weak spots? The eye socket or back vents. They require your attention swiftly, but the main danger is that they distract you from everything else. Number 6. Gunships. Bot air support with annoying rockets. Weak spots? The jet engines. Relatively easy to dodge, extremely difficult to outrun. Where retreating is a very viable solution to many automaton problems, the gunship will simply follow you to the moon and back. Number 7. Tanks. Heavy armor bot vehicles. Weak spot? The back vents. They're slow as a snail, but if they get close to you, make sure you have cover, or that's going to cost you a reinforce. Number 8. Factory striders. Heavy armored giant bot vehicles. The weak spot? The belly. It has alternative weak spots, but your best bet is usually to take out the miniguns first, then nail its stomach. Rarely will you see more than one at the same time. If you do though, consider a tactical retreat, or throwing everything you have at them. You pick. Number 9. Fabricators. Bot spawners really. Weak spots? The front top fence, or the open door. They're present in all missions except eradication. Basically, they're bot nests. And that's all the enemies we could possibly run into. As mentioned, we can run into these enemies in 4 scenarios, defined by how many of them there are and how close they are to us. This frame, per definition, is a generic tool, not a specialized one. If you want to be the team's chaff killer, then you only have to care about ticking the 16 boxes available from number 1 to number 4. Prefer to be the heavy killer? Then worry about boxes number 5 to number 8. Sneaky objective player? Make sure you check the 2 boxes on number 9. Let's tick off our boxes with an example, based on how well the chosen gearpiece can handle that enemy in that scenario. I'll use my go-to loadout for bots, which should also instantly illustrate why it's my go-to loadout. My primary is the Diligence Counter Sniper. That covers all 4 light infantry boxes. It covers 2 of the Scout Strider boxes, since they're still tricky long range, 2 Berserker boxes, since they're tricky close range, 4 Devastator boxes, since they only take 1 shot to the head, 1 Hulk box, since you can kill a Hulk by shooting its back vents, but it's very unlikely you have the time to get behind it when there are multiple Hulks, for example. It covers 0 gunship boxes, tank, factory striders, or fabricator boxes, since your bullets just ricochet. So this gun by itself covers 13 out of 34 boxes, which means ideally the rest of our loadout should cover the other 21 boxes. My secondary is the grenade pistol. I'll empty the 13 boxes already ticked by the Diligence Counter Sniper, just so we get a better view of the grenade pistol as a standalone piece. It ticks 2 light infantry boxes, simply because it's very ammo inefficient to shoot a single light infantry bot. It ticks off 2 Scout Strider boxes, because when there are multiple Scout Striders, the pistol struggles to keep up. A big upside here is that it can shoot the front side of the Scout Striders, preventing the need for flanking them. I'll tick 2 boxes for Berserkers. It can handle them, but only when they're alone, since ammo is a really big problem. Devastators I'll tick the same 2 boxes. Packs of them are a problem for the grenade pistol, again due to ammo inefficiency. For Hulks, I can tick off 1 box. If they're in a pack, it's simply too dangerous to get behind them. Alone though, you can get behind them and 2 grenade pistol shots will handle your problem. 0 boxes for gunships, unfortunately. It does tick 1 box for the tank, however. Same box it does for the Hulk. 0 boxes for factory striders as well, but it does tick both boxes for the fabricators, so that's quite nice. This gives the grenade pistol 12 out of 34 boxes ticked. This unfortunately does overlap quite a bit with the boxes the Diligence Counter Sniper check, but not completely. The verdict, for example, overlaps much more with the Diligence Counter Sniper. Jumping over to the main exhibit, the Autocannon. The reason I jump to a stratagem here is because it will make my grenade choice a lot clearer. The Autocannon checks 2 light infantry boxes, mainly because shooting single target light infantry is a waste of ammo, so no points there. It checks all 4 Scout Strider boxes, all 4 Berserker boxes, all 4 Devastator boxes, all 4 Hulk boxes, and all 4 Gunship boxes. It checks 2 tank boxes, since you have to be able to flank a tank to kill it with an autocannon. Also, 2 Factory Strider boxes, since it's very ammo intensive to take 1 down. And lastly, both Fabricator boxes, giving the autocannon a whopping total of 28 out of 34 boxes ticked, which is why in my opinion, it's the best support weapon in the game. They should just rename it the solo cannon, really. In theory, by the way, you'll never find a weapon with all 34 boxes ticked, since that would be considered meta. And Arrowhead avoids that, rightfully so, since it would break the game by removing all incentive to bring anything else. Anyway, moving on. Stun grenades. They're my go-to for bots. I will check the boxes based on how well it facilitates the weapons you brought, since it doesn't do the direct killing itself. For light infantry, Scout Striders, Berserkers, Devastators, and Hulks, it checks 2 boxes each, since distance makes landing good grenades tricky. It does nothing against gunships, tanks, Factory Striders, or Fabricators. This gives the stun grenade a solid 10 out of 34 boxes checked. Wrapping up the weapons, and moving back into stratagems, the Orbital Precision Strike. It checks 2 light infantry, 2 Scout Strider, 2 Berserker, 2 Devastator, and 2 Hulk boxes, since it's very costly to use on a single target. It checks 0 boxes for gunships, unless you have absolutely god-tier feeling for the Orbital Precision Strike and you can land it on a moving gunship, but okay. It checks 2 tank boxes, since the tanks are quite wide, making it so it's hard to hit multiple tanks with 1 strike. It then checks the same 2 boxes for Factory Striders, since it takes 2 Orbital Precision Strikes to take 1 out, meaning it can be very difficult to handle multiple Factory Striders with it. It can, however, assist just fine in taking one down. I'll check both boxes for fabricators here. This gives the orbital precision strike 16 out of 34 boxes checked. Stratagem number 3, the Eagle Cluster Bomb. This is going to check a lot of boxes, but mainly at the start. It checks 4 light infantry, 4 scout strider, 4 berserker, and 4 devastator boxes. It does, however, check 0 boxes for everything else. So 16 out of 34 boxes, but very specialized boxes in comparison to the orbital precision. As you can tell, this is a much preferred stratagem for people who enjoy being chaff killers. And last, but definitely not least, the Eagle Airstrike. It checks 4 light infantry, scout strider, berserker, and devastator boxes, just in case you miss with the Eagle cluster bombs. But it also checks 3 Hulk boxes, only because hitting multiple Hulks in the distance can be difficult. It checks 0 gunship boxes because they're flying, 3 tank boxes, missing the 4th box for the same reason as the Hulk, 2 factory strider boxes because it doesn't have enough firepower to handle multiple striders, and lastly, both fabricator boxes, since it decimates these bot spawners, bringing it to a total of 26 out of 34 boxes checked. Now, judging each piece on its own gives you a good strength indication by itself. The point of a good loadout, of course, is that each piece should augment and complement the other. When we overlap all the data from this loadout, the conclusion is that my only problem should, theoretically, be the factory strider. More specifically, multiple factory striders, which is a rare scenario, but it is possible. In turn, this means that when I run into multiple factory striders, I know that per definition I should retreat. I could stay and fight for quite some time, for all intents and purposes, but my build simply doesn't handle it well. Alternatively, if I had brought a spear, an autocannon sentry, and an orbital laser, well then they can bring all the robot dogs they want. I couldn't care less. That build does, however, falter when you get swarmed by tiny enemies. Which leads me to the ending. In a team, remember to check off boxes based off of what you see your squad bring. This gives you an instant path into what a good loadout would be for your squad. Simply fill out the blank boxes, and you should be good to go. Remember that the amount of enemies in the game scale though, with the amount of players, the difficulty you play on, the planet you're liberating, and even your choice of mission. You'll rarely see multiple factory striders close together in 40-minute missions. But on planet defense missions, you'll see them by the dozen. So you'll have to learn to calculate for those factors. Make sure you give yourself the time to learn those factors through fun game time though. Jamming it in a video like this would make this already complicated loadout advice even more complicated. I hope this tool helps you out in designing your very own fun Helldivers 2 loadout. Maybe even a one-of-a-kind one. I'd like to end with that actually. Remember that checking off as many boxes as you can in this format will mean that you can handle most situations. It does not, however, mean you're going to have fun doing so. So be willing to check off less boxes, if that means you're going to be enjoying the boxes you check a lot more. I'll start linking some of the ridiculous builds I've run at the top right here. This tool will at the very least help you communicate what your game plan is. Cooperation is much easier with communication. Be sure to talk to your squad. Or, if you're running solo, this tool will help you realize what situations your loadout is simply not designed for. Remember that each box I checked won't always be the same one you check. That depends on your experience and enjoyment of the piece. Which luckily also means that same piece will sooner or later check off more boxes, as you get more and more used to it. Fun to know we can grow into our tools, right? I'm curious what loadouts you guys end up making, and I hope this helped you out as much as possible. My name is Vasil. Be well, and take care.
Thank you.